Who are you, what's your role, and where do you work?
I'm with Google. My name is Roman Arcea. I'm a group product manager and I cover Google Kubernetes Engine.
What are 3 emerging Kubernetes tools that you're keeping an eye on?
Wow, there is so much happening in Kubernetes, and actually it goes from the level of some of the most basics, from what we do with infrastructure provisioning now with the likes of custom compute classes, of what you're seeing emerging in the market as capabilities to do fallbacks between various VMs. But I also am very impressed about the tools that are emerging in the area of automated resource management, like in-place pod resize. And actually, completely outside Kubernetes, I think the large language models and what's happening now with vibe coding is very interesting for Kubernetes, mostly because it removes the barriers to learning and understanding how to use Kubernetes the best.
One of our podcast guests, Thibaut, said, before we had Vertical Pod Autoscaler, resource management was a nightmare. What is your experience with resource management challenges before implementing automation?
Glad that you're asking that, because actually the entire last year, our team has worked relentlessly with the community to bring in-place pod resize to Vertical Pod Autoscaler. We launched it in summer, then we brought VPA support with in-place pod resize to the market, and we've just launched it inside Google Kubernetes Engine as well. And what this allows you to do is, for the first time ever, it allows you to resize resources in your workloads without ever having to restart them. And it's a complete game changer with what we're doing there in resource management and workload autoscaling. If you haven't touched that space before, if you haven't researched IPPR with VPA, I really encourage you to do so. It's a life-changing technology.
Our podcast guest Zane mentioned that KEDA is pretty underrated. It has great potential if used rightfully, especially for custom metrics autoscaling. What has your experience been with custom metrics autoscaling?
Spot on question, right in my garden. So here's the thing with custom metrics. Custom metrics were always an afterthought in Kubernetes. Kubernetes was designed with the most simplicity in mind. So we started the journey around workloads with scaling on CPU and memory. And this has been the main way how people approach this. CPU and memory are a proxy metric for what is generally acceptable to be usable autoscaling. So custom metrics was very, very complicated. So I can tell you that the market develops very actively in this space. Just last month, as part of Google Kubernetes Engine, we've released a completely reworked stack for horizontal pod autoscaling with custom metrics that now is custom and embedded. So if you actually would look at the old stack, it would take like 90 seconds for custom metrics to propagate and react and scale your application. The new stack is significantly faster than that, and I'm very much encouraging you to go and explore the new HPA custom metrics native stack and what it would do for your application.
Zane also observed there's a lot of waste happening on CPU and GPU, and there's a significant opportunity to optimize this. What approaches do you take to reduce resource waste in your clusters?
A lot of this has to do with the fact that users have to make all those choices on resource sizing manually today, right? So historically, if you were getting started with Kubernetes, you would have to choose your VM size. You will have to choose your GPU size, very often completely independently of what your workload needs. Very often in large organizations, the teams who provision infrastructure, make those choices on resources, are not also the same people who deploy workloads and size them. So a lot of this comes from the mismatch of the workload layer and the infrastructure layer. Kubernetes has evolved tremendously over the last couple of years to change that waste issue. So for example, the modern way that not everyone yet has adopted to provision infrastructure resources is for things like node auto provisioning, node auto creation, where the nodes are actually created and sized dynamically by the size of what your workload needs. So actually, if you've not explored what's new in Kubernetes over the last 1-2 years, I very much encourage you to look at the tools that are there for automated resource management, because Kubernetes has evolved a lot. And if you started your journey with Kubernetes, especially 2, 3, 4 years ago, the current landscape of applications and capabilities is completely drastic. And we believe you could cut your waste meaningfully by just adopting the latest and greatest in Kubernetes and GKE.
Kubernetes turned 10 years old a couple of years ago. We'll be 2 years in June. What can we expect in the next 10 years to come?
My hope is that we can make Kubernetes completely transparent. I mean, this is not a great thing to say for a product manager, but I really, really believe that if you're in a business of writing SaaS, or maybe, you're a chocolate brewer, or maybe you're producing, engines. Infrastructure has to be completely transparent to you. You should be able to run business on Kubernetes without ever getting a PhD in managing Kubernetes and its applications on this. So my hope is that we can become that universal substrate, open source standard for distributed systems. And the fact that Kubernetes is an open source application, it's an open source project, allows us to push it to become the standardized API for distributed infrastructure consumption going forward.
And what's next for you?
Well, next for me is I definitely am sticking around with Google. We have an amazing lineup of things coming out here. It's a big team that completely changes the face of Kubernetes. And in my opinion, in the next 1-2 years, is going to transform how we think and work with Kubernetes, in any business.
And how can people get in touch with you?
Well, hit me up on LinkedIn. You can always find me. I'm always happy to reply and have a conversation, exchange thoughts. And of course, if you are one of the users of Google Kubernetes Engine, always get in touch with us. We'd learn to see how we can be more helpful.